So about a year ago, I read an article that said that couples who choose to cohabit before they get married are more likely to get divorced later on. And the reason for this is that the fact that they needed a trial run, so to say, shows that they're less confident in the relationship overall. So that made sense to me, but I was completely shocked by that. Not because it was true and not because of the reasoning behind it, but just because I didn't realize that the option to cohabit was up for debate. I thought that it was normal, my parents did it, I always intended to do it before I got married. So I thought, am I weird? I just had no idea. So when I decided to speak on cohabitation, I did a survey to see exactly how unusual I was. And I found that 65% of the people that I surveyed, their parents lived together before they got married, and 90% of the people I surveyed also plan to do so. So not only was I not unusual, good news, I also found that if these people actually did fulfill their intention of cohabiting before they got married, that represented a 25% increase in one generation, which was striking to me. So I did some other research and found out that this is a national trend. And you can tell that the people that have less education and the people of minorities, they have higher percentages of cohabitation overall. But between the years of 1987 and 1995, all of these demographic groups increased their rates of cohabitation. So the question is, what role does cohabitation play in society now? One of the prevailing theories is that cohabitation is a stage in the marriage process. So when single people were asked if they intended to get married in the next 12 months, you can see that 31% of males and 38% of females that were cohabiting did intend to get married in the next 12 months, and a much smaller percentage who were not cohabiting said yes to the same question, which really supports the idea that it was just a step on the way to marriage. Also, people that were cohabiting were asked their reasons for cohabiting, and what I thought was most striking was that 47% of respondents said that the fact that cohabitation requires less personal commitment than marriage is not important, and 66.5% of respondents said that the fact that it requires less sexual faithfulness than marriage is unimportant, which means that these cohabitors are no less committed to their relationship than they would be in marriage for the most part. And third, most striking, was the fact that couples valued cohabitation as a way to figure out if they're compatible with their mates for marriage, which is a blatant supporter for the fact that they are intending to get married. The second theory is that cohabitation is a replacement of marriage overall. So we go back to this chart of people who intended to get married in the next 12 months, and we see that although there is a much larger percent of people who were cohabiting that said that they were intending to get married in the next 12 months, the large majority had no intentions to get married. So this could mean that cohabitors really were just in it for the convenience, for the financial reasons. They did not have any driving factors to get married. We see this even further when we see how people evaluated their lives, whether or not all of these aspects would be better, the same, or worse if they were to be married. And what I'd like to draw your attention to is the fact that the overwhelming majority said that most of these things would be the same. So again, it's neutral. In these people's heads, these are equivalent things. A cohabitation is no better than marriage, so there's no driving factor to get married. And the third and final theory is that cohabitation is just an alternative to being single. So one of the things that we look at with married life is that since World War II, homeownership has become a norm. Once you're financially able to do so, you buy a home. So I found that currently 80% of married people and 33% of single people own homes. So the question is, where do cohabiting people fit in? And the answer? They are exactly the same as single people, which really strongly supports the idea that they are no different than single people. Additionally, another norm of married couples is having children. So I found that 45% of married males and 46% of married females intend to have children within 2 years, and then 4% of males, 6% of females that are not married intend to have children within 2 years. So where do cohabiting people fit in? When do they want to have children, if at all? You can see here that they're in between, but they much more closely align with the intentions of single people than with married people. So lastly, we ask, what do cohabitors call themselves? Why are we doing all this research? Why don't we just ask them? So when they had to choose between the status of married, single, or separated, widowed, or divorced, the overwhelming majority called themselves single. So why does this matter? Why is this a topic of dispute if the overwhelming majority, 95 and 92%, are calling themselves single? Well, experts are worried that if cohabitation is in fact just a step in the process of marriage and courtship, that it's reflecting an overall declining confidence of marriage, and if it's a replacement of marriage overall, that it is going to really disturb the stability of our country in the future. But I think the biggest takeaway is that the norm is no longer normal, and what we see now is that I was not unusual in my desire to cohabit before I get married, and neither are the people that don't want to cohabit at all. The people that want to cohabit after they get married are the people that don't want to cohabit even at all. Thank you.
So hit that button.